Futures tied to major U.S. stock indices edged lower early Monday, signaling a cautious start to the week as investors digest sharp moves across commodities, monitor geopolitical developments, and track fresh signals from China and Asian markets. U.S. stock futures moved modestly lower, with Nasdaq 100 futures down 0.4% while the S&P 500 futures were down 0.2% at 5 o'clock Eastern Time, 10 o'clock Greenwich Mean Time. The pullback in U.S. stocks comes as the recent record-setting rally in precious metals takes a breather. Equity sentiment remains fragile, with investors balancing resilient risk appetite against stretched positioning in parts of the market following recent gains. Commodities see sharp swings. Commodity markets were volatile. Silver futures traded through a dramatic series of reversals within an 11% intraday range, at one point spiking to a record $84 an ounce. Copper futures surged more than 6%, while platinum futures recovered most of its earlier losses after plunging more than 5%. Gold futures edged slightly lower, hovering near $4,515 an ounce after recently hitting fresh highs. In energy markets, crude oil WTI futures climbed back above $57 a barrel. Bitcoin initially surged 3% before moving lower to trade nearly flat on the day. Ukraine peace talks in focus. Geopolitics remained in focus after U.S. President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said progress had been made toward ending the war in Ukraine following talks in Florida. Both leaders described the discussions as positive, although Trump cautioned that one or two very thorny issues remain unresolved, particularly around territorial questions. Zelensky said the two sides had agreed on roughly 90% of a 20-point peace plan, while Trump said security guarantees for Ukraine were close to being finalized. Further talks between U.S. and Ukrainian teams are expected next week. While Ukraine is the most critical geopolitical theater, it's not the only one, and the Middle East is back in focus after Iran. The president declared over the weekend that the country is in all-out war with the U.S., EU, and Israel, and ahead of a meeting Monday between Trump and Netanyahu at Mar-a-Lago, Vital Knowledge analyst Adam Crisafulli noted. China headlines. Attention also turned to China, where authorities signaled policy support for growth in 2026. Officials pledged more efficient fiscal spending, while the People's Bank of China said banks will begin paying interest on holdings of the digital yuan. State media also warned investors against making one-way bets on the currency, underscoring efforts to stabilize expectations around the yuan. Asia extends rally. Asian equities advanced for a seventh straight session, marking their longest winning streak in 3 months. The MSCI AC Asia Pacific rose 0.2%, led by gains in technology stocks including Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing, NYSE, TSM, SK Hynix, KS000660, and Samsung Electronics, KS005930. South Korea outperformed the region, while benchmarks in Taiwan and Japan also moved higher, reflecting continued strength in Asian tech shares.